This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
It's really an all-in act with this guy. What he wants, what he says is, there's nothing to see here, so why don't you come into a dark room and see it, and then we'll commit you to an oath of secrecy so you can walk out and tell Canadians that you can't tell them anything at all. That's effectively what he's saying. We don't need more people to keep secrets. We need more people telling the truth. Why won't he launch a public inquiry to do that?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The opposition was Minister of Elections. Perhaps that is his approach, why he didn't do anything to fight foreign interference that was ongoing in our elections and has been for decades. Mr. Speaker, he chose to cover his ears and not listen to intelligence officials. And now he is not letting the facts get in the way of base partisan attacks. He is choosing to not get briefed up on the actual facts of the matter so that he can continue to attack our democracy, to attack other political parties, to attack esteemed individuals like our former Governor General.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians need the facts. Everyday Canadians. They don't need to have just a Prime Minister keeping secrets and then have that same Prime Minister force other people to keep his secrets as well, Mr. Speaker. You know, this Prime Minister said he admires the basic Chinese communist dictatorship. When will we realize that we live in Canada and you can't silence your critics?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is entitled to his opinions. He's just not entitled to his facts. That's why the intelligence community has offered, and we actually directed the intelligence community to give him the clearance necessary so that he can find out all the facts, all the information necessary, and he is choosing to hide behind a veil of ignorance so that he doesn't have to allow the facts to get in the way of a good political argument or personal attack, either on me or on a former Governor General or on anyone who seems to stand in his way.
Hear, hear.
Before we go to the next question, there's a lot of chattering going on, and I want to make sure that everyone gets to hear the questions and the answers. So I'm going to ask everyone, once again, take a deep breath and let's listen to both sides. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He wants facts. Well, here's a fact. He would have me commit to following Section 12.1 of the National Security and Intelligence Committee Act, which would not only strip away my ability to speak about this matter, but would ban me from doing it right here on the floor of the House of Commons. That is a fact. The real question is, what is he so determined to hide? We know Beijing helped him in 2 elections. We know Beijing gave donations to his Trudeau Foundation. Is that why he's so determined to silence his critics and keep these secrets?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I know it's difficult for some people to remember, but the honourable member was at one point a Minister of the Crown and thereby subject to oaths of secrecy and cabinet confidences, and was able to handle secrets just fine at that point, including when he was Minister for Elections. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, he is choosing now to turn his back on the facts because the facts would be inconvenient to the political argument he's trying to make right now. If that member was serious about this serious issue, he would allow the intelligence agencies to give him the necessary brief.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This Prime Minister is saying that nothing has been hidden. And yet, actually, come look at everything that's been hidden. And then you can go to the media and tell them, actually, I can't say anything. That's it. No more information for Canadians, for citizens who are worried about losing the independence of our democratic system. When will this Prime Minister finally stop hiding behind his Trudeau Foundation friend and finally launch a public inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, the Leader of the Opposition is showing that he has no understanding of how our security system works and what our responsibilities are as parliamentarians. For example, the Committee of Parliamentarians on Intelligence and Security see all of the information in full, and then later they draft reports that they share with Parliament to explain how they assess whether things were done right and whether they agree or not. That system already exists. So he's manufacturing reasons for him to remain in ignorance. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is starting to look pretty alone. He doesn't have a lot of friends, apart from Mr. Johnston, of course. All the other parties want a public independent inquiry. The former Chief Electoral Officer also wants that. Experts are asking for it. Even Morris Rosenberg is asking for that inquiry, but not David Johnston. Who will the Prime Minister listen to? His buddy Johnston or his buddy Rosenberg? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we asked Mr. Johnston to carry out an in-depth analysis of all of the intelligence and the facts. He looked at the context. He looked at what NSIRA and NSICOP did. And he assessed whether a public inquiry would help to restore the public's trust. He ultimately concluded that no, that is not the best way of proceeding. He will hold public hearings over the summer in order to hear from Canadians, but the public inquiry, in his opinion, is not necessary. The Honourable Member. Appointing a former member of the Trudeau Foundation, a family friend and a friend of China, the appointment of that individual was not legitimate. The conclusions of the report are not legitimate. Mr. Johnston's stubbornness in self-designating himself to continue in this role is not legitimate. If Mr. Johnston refuses to recuse himself, as Parliament will probably ask him to, will this Prime Minister have the statesmanship and dignity to ensure that that happens and to ensure that a public inquiry is held? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, what's interesting here is to see that the leader of the Bloc Québécois, who is so concerned about facts and legitimacy, what's interesting is that he is refusing to be briefed on the secret and confidential information that CSIS has accumulated on this. He is also refusing to accept the facts, to accept reality, in order to be able to continue with his partisan attacks. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
This Liberal government's approach to foreign interference has been a failure. The Prime Minister decided to bring in a special rapporteur, which was a mistake. He should have launched a public inquiry. Now the appearance of bias is so strong that the special rapporteur can no longer continue to do his work. So will the Prime Minister do the right thing and remove the special rapporteur from his position and restore Canadians' confidence in our electoral system?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, David Johnston is an eminent Canadian who has served this government and this country for decades. The reality is he was appointed a number of times by former Prime Minister Stephen Harper to important responsibilities, including to be Governor General of this country. And he has undertaken this responsibility and this task of looking at foreign interference and reporting back to Canadians with the seriousness with which one would expect of him. It is unfortunate that the opposition parties are choosing to play politics around this issue instead of actually standing up for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
The Prime Minister knows that the appearance of bias is so strong in this case that Mr. Johnston cannot continue to do his work to restore confidence in the system. Notre motion demande.
Our motion asks for the Prime Minister to remove Mr. Johnston from his position. It is entirely clear that these allegations of foreign interference are serious. Will the Prime Minister finally take them seriously and launch a public inquiry now? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, since 2015, we have taken these allegations of interference seriously. That is why we have instituted a number of mechanisms to fight foreign interference And that is why we are counting on experts like Mr. Johnston and Mr. Rosenberg. That's what we're doing, and we are producing recommendations moving forward. We are taking this seriously, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to follow the facts and the intelligence that is gathered by our agencies. Thank you.